Joining us today for Money Matters is Mark Every, and Mark, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And we're going to talk about CDs and some other investments. And I guess first of all, tell us, what is a CD or a certificate of deposit?
Well, most basically, a certificate of deposit is a product issued and guaranteed by the bank, where a client will give us their money for a certain period of time, typically anywhere from 3 months to 5 years. And for that, we guarantee to pay them a certain rate of interest on that for that term that they choose.
So Mark, what is the annual yield on a CD? Are they still a good investment?
It's a very challenging environment as far as rates go. So anybody that's been a traditional CD customer is really struggling because the Federal Reserve has rates as low as they can possibly go. The federal funds rate and the discount rate are both less than 1%. So what happens is it's hard for the bank to pay a competitive rate of interest. I mean, we're seeing our typical 5-year CD is less than 1%. So on the one hand, the one thing you do have is the safety and the guarantee of that rate. You don't have market volatility that you might in some other investments, but what you're giving up for that is that return is historically lowest levels.
What are some other investment options? Are stocks a good alternative?
Yeah, I think what we're seeing is those people that have, both the time horizon, in other words, they can afford to ride the market wave a little bit. What we're seeing is those people take advantage of some, investment products that are offered through our brokerage department here at the bank. And mainly those are mutual funds, which are a combination of stocks and bonds within a mutual fund, or individual stocks and or bonds have been popular, as well as some other non-traditional products such as fixed and variable annuities. So to answer your question specifically about stocks, if we look back to February of 2009, the stock market the Dow Jones was at 6,600, and will probably be somewhere near 17,000 today. So that's quite a bit of return, but there's volatility to that, as we saw in 2008. So what I always say is, we meet with our clients, we determine what their risk tolerance is and what their goals are, and determine what's really the best product for them.
What about bonds? So how many types of bonds are there, and how do we determine which of those are good for us?
Yeah, there's several different bonds out there. Obviously, the first one would be corporate bonds issued by an individual for-profit corporation, and they're doing the same thing. They're issuing debt so that they can take the money and invest in other research and development, things like that. So there's corporate bonds. There's also government bonds. So you have your Fannie Mae's, your Federal Home Loan Banks. So those are what they call agency bonds, which are issued by an agency of the federal government. You have your U.S. Treasuries, and the benefit of those is that typically they're not taxed on the state and local level, but they are federally taxed. And then you have municipal bonds, which are issued by a local municipality, and those are both federally, state, and local tax exempt. So it kind of depends on the client's tax situation, but the reality is they kind of follow CD rates as well. So you have to take somebody out several years to get a competitive yield right now. So it really depends again on that individual situation.
With the low yield on CDs, I've heard that paying down our debt can be a good investment. Is that true?
Yeah, that's it. Depending on the situation of the client, that's not a bad idea, because if yields are as low or under 1% and you're paying debt that's at 3, 4, 5%, and you can't get that yield, or you're not willing to take the risk to get that yield, you're better off sometimes, depending on your situation, to pay that debt down or pay that debt off completely.
So how do we learn more about investing our money?
All they have to do is give us a call, ask to speak to somebody in the investment department here at Winona National Bank, and we'd be happy to sit down and help them.
Thanks for offering us some great information, Mark.
Yeah, glad to be here. Thank you.